One night of weakness changed everything. What began as harmless company turned into a secret too heavy to confess. She thought she could resist, but the temptation was bigger, stronger, and beyond anything she had ever felt before. I had just come back from a birthday party that evening, my heels clicking against the wooden floor as I walked into the quiet house. The laughter and chatter from earlier still echoed faintly in my mind, but the moment I stepped inside, it was as though the air shifted. The house felt too still, almost heavy, as if it had been waiting for me. I placed my purse on the counter and sighed, slipping out of my shoes. It had been a long night, smiles, small talk, pretending to enjoy myself when in truth, I just wanted to be home. I thought I'd return to silence, maybe pour myself a cup of tea before heading to bed. But instead, I saw him. My son was sitting on the couch, the glow of the lamp casting shadows across his face. He wasn't watching TV or on his phone like he usually would be at this hour. He was just waiting. His eyes lifted the second I walked in, and the way he looked at me made my stomach tighten. "Mom," he said softly, his voice carrying a weight that made me pause. Something in me knew instantly, this wasn't going to be an ordinary conversation. I forced a small smile, trying to ease the tension. "You're still up?" "It's late." He didn't smile back. He just watched me, his hands clasped tightly in his lap, his posture stiff. My heart skipped, and I set my cup down before I even poured the tea. Something was wrong. "Is everything okay?" I asked, my voice trembling more than I wanted it to. He hesitated, his eyes flickering away from mine as though he was struggling to gather the courage. And then, after a long, suffocating silence, he finally spoke. "Mom, I need to tell you something." My chest tightened. There was something in his tone, fear, desperation, maybe even anger, that made my skin prickle. I sat down slowly on the edge of the couch, bracing myself. "What is it?" I whispered. He looked at me then, really looked at me, his eyes shining in the dim light. And when he opened his mouth, the words that came out shattered me. "Tonight, while you were gone, I found something. And I can't pretend I didn't see it." My breath caught. My mind scrambled to understand, to piece together what he could possibly mean. But the seriousness in his voice made me realize this wasn't going to be something simple. This was something that would change everything. My throat went dry. What did you find?" I asked, though a part of me wasn't sure I wanted to hear the answer. He shifted on the couch, his fingers gripping each other so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Finally, with a shaky breath, he said, "Your phone. It buzzed earlier when you left it on the table." I wasn't trying to snoop, Mom, but the message lit up on the screen. My heart lurched. My phone. A message. For a moment, the room spun as I tried to remember, had I deleted everything? Had I been careless? I swallowed hard. "And what did it say?" I forced the words out, though my voice barely carried. His eyes filled with something between hurt and confusion. It was from someone named Mark. And it said, "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." The air left my lungs as if he had punched me. I froze, staring at him, my mind blank. Shame crushed into me, burning through my chest. He knew. My son knew. He leaned forward, his voice breaking. "Mom, what's going on? Who is he?" Tears stung my eyes. The weight of his words, the betrayal in his gaze, made me feel smaller than I ever had in my life. I wanted to explain, to defend myself, but no excuse could erase the truth he had uncovered. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My son's eyes were locked on me, searching, demanding an answer I didn't know how to give. "Mom, please," he said, his voice trembling, "tell me it's not what it looks like. Tell me I'm wrong." His words sliced through me. I wanted to reach out, to pull him close, to protect him from this truth, but how could I, when I was the one who shattered the very image of trust he had in me? Finally, I whispered, "It's complicated." Complicated, he shot back, his voice rising. You're married. To Dad. And you're texting some guy about last night? What's complicated about that? I flinched as if struck. His anger wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak, disappointment, disbelief all tangled into one. I didn't mean for it to happen, I tried, my voice breaking. It started with friendship, and then. Stop, he interrupted, pressing his hands against his ears for a second before dropping them. Do you have any idea how this feels? To come home and find out the person I look up to, the one I thought was untouchable, he choked on the words. Is cheating? My tears spilled over. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But you have to believe me, I love you, I love this family. Nothing changes that. But his silence told me everything, something had already changed. The silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the wall clock, even the sound of my own shallow breathing. But my son said nothing, he just stared at me, his face pale, his hands trembling. Do you want to tell Dad? I finally asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. His eyes widened, as though the thought had only just formed in his mind. Do you think I want to break him? To watch his whole world fall apart because of you? His voice cracked. I can't. I can't carry this. The weight of his words sank into me. My sin wasn't just my own anymore, it was his burden too. Please, I begged, my voice shaking. Don't tell him. Not yet. I need time to figure this out, to fix things. He laughed bitterly, shaking his head. Fix? You think this can be fixed? He stood, pacing across the kitchen floor, his footsteps sharp against the tiles. You've destroyed everything. And now you want me to keep your secret? I felt desperation claw at my chest. I just need you to trust me. Please, just this once. He turned back toward me, his eyes wet but burning with fire. Trust you? Mom, you're the last person I can trust right now. Those words hit harder than anything I had ever heard in my life. He stood there, fists clenched at his sides, his chest heaving. I could see the war playing out inside him, the part of him that still loved me, still wanted to protect his father, and the part that couldn't bear the weight of this secret. Finally, he spoke, his voice low, heavy with exhaustion. I don't know what I'm going to do, Mom. I can't promise I'll stay quiet. I can't promise anything. My heart sank. I wanted to reach for him, but something in his eyes warned me not to. He wasn't my little boy in that moment, he was a young man standing at the edge of something far too heavy for his age. I just need time, I whispered. Please. Just give me that. He shook his head slowly, then turned toward the door. You should have thought about time before you made your choice. And with that, he walked away, leaving me alone in the kitchen, drowning in silence. The sound of the door closing echoed through the house like a final judgment. For the first time, I realized that no matter what happened next, whether he told his father, whether he stayed silent, nothing would ever be the same again. I sank into the chair, my hands covering my face, and I whispered the only truth I had left. I've lost him, and maybe, I've lost everything. The house felt unbearably quiet after he left, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I sat there for hours, waiting, hoping he might come back through that door and tell me he wouldn't say anything. That he still saw me as his mother, not as the woman who betrayed his trust. But he never came. The next morning, I watched him move around the house with a cold distance that pierced deeper than any words could. He didn't look at me, didn't say a word, as though I had become a stranger under the same roof. And maybe I had. I told myself I could fix it, that time would soften his anger, that maybe my husband would never know. But in my heart, I knew the truth, some lines, once crossed, can never be erased. Even now, when I hear his footsteps, when I catch his glance, I see the judgment in his eyes. Not just for what I did, but for who I became in that moment of weakness. I lost more than trust that night. I lost my son's innocence, his faith in me, and perhaps the only piece of myself I truly valued, being his mother. And that is the punishment I will carry for the rest of my life.